Well, morning. It's been a while, I know it's been over 3 weeks, but I've been a bit busy domestically. I've got all sorts of things on the plate at the minute, not the least of which is my son's wedding next Saturday. So it's been a while since I've been out doing any filming, but there's been something I've been wanting to do for quite a while now, and it goes back to my coach driving days. The first coach tour, regular coach tour I did was the northeast, Newcastle and Northumberland, and it's an area that not a lot of people know about. Certainly passengers didn't know much about it. I mean, they went up there out of curiosity, I think, more than anything. But it's a place it's an area that got under my skin. It really did. I really got into the place. My daughter lived up there for a few years, and sort of fell in love with the northeast. I mean, apart from anything else, the twang, the accent up there is beautiful to listen to. The Geordie accent, effectively. It's not just Geordies. There's Mackhams from Sunderland, and there's the Durham accent, and it's all very much northeastern anyway. So a few days ago, well, last week in actual fact, I went up there on the Howay Blizzard, and we had 3 nights up there, and I did as much filming as I could. There is a downside to this video, and that's the sound quality has gone off again. I don't know what I've done with the microphone, but it's just not behaving itself, basically. But what I've done is I've put 3, maybe 4 videos together to put out in fairly quick succession to make up for the dry period, shall we say. This first one, this is Newcastle city centre. This is very much different to what I'm used to doing. I used to do a city centre tour with a coach as much as I possibly could with the traffic problems, with the traffic controls that there were. And as it turns out, I could do even less with the bike because of road closures and what have you. But I've tried to show just how nice, how impressive and vibrant, if you like, the city of Newcastle is. So look at this one. The next couple of videos will be more rural, more like my style, if you like. But watch it, have a look at it, see what you think. If you enjoy it, if you find it interesting, give us a like, give us a thumbs up if you would, and as usual, if you've not already subscribed, if you hit subscribe, it doesn't cost anything and it really does help me. But thanks for watching anyway, and yeah, see what you think. Cheers. Where are we today, I wonder? Oh, welcome back everybody. Thanks for having a look at my channel. It's been a while, I suppose, but so where are we? Yeah, let's have a look, shall we? What are we? Oh, what's that there? That's the Angel of the North. Overlooks Gateshead and Newcastle, the Tyne Valley. And it was unveiled 25 years ago. It was the work of renowned sculptor, artist Anthony Gormley. It was commissioned by Gateshead Council, and it's designed to celebrate the industrial heritage of Gateshead and the Tyne Valley in any case. But it's an impressive site. My daughter was living up here when it was unveiled back in 1998, and just a few figures: 65 feet high, 175 feet wingspan. I hope I'm taking it all in on the camera. And there's one heck of a long piece of steel, because that's what it's made of. It's made of steel that sticks in the ground. It's more or less very near to where there was a shower and toilet block for coal miners, because this was a big coal mining area. And there's one heck of a long piece of steel that extends down below it into the the top of a mine shaft. So yes, funded in the main by the Lottery Arts Commission, and it is one impressive sight, I'm sure you'll agree. Yes, the Angel of the North. Now we're going to carry on down into Newcastle on Tyne, and we'll have a look at what I consider to be one of the most attractive, if not the most attractive city in the north of England. And hopefully you'll see what I'm rambling on about. Well, thanks for joining me again. Just as we start this descent, although it's not obvious at the minute, but what we've got in front of us is the valley of the River Tyne. So the buildings you can see on the far side, on the skyline, that's Newcastle on Tyne. On this side, of course, is Gateshead. Gateshead has tended to live in the shadow of its perhaps better known neighbour. There's been something of a, well, around the millennium, shall we say, there was something of a renaissance, particularly for Gateshead, because you could perhaps pick out the very rounded looking roof in front of us. That's the theatre, Gateshead Arts Centre, and it's the wavy nature of the roof is said to replicate the rolling waves of the North Sea coming into the mouth of the Tyne. We'll hopefully get a better look at it anyway. Now, just just coming into view is probably what Newcastle is best known for, the Tyne Bridge. We're going to come towards the Tyne Bridge, but I don't intend riding over it yet. I'll talk about the Tyne Bridge in just a few minutes. So there's the Tyne Bridge. It's wanting a lick of paint, if you ask me. There's the Tyne Bridge. We're going to go down and we're going to drop down and over my favourite bridge here on Tyneside. Dates back to 1848, does this one. The Swing Bridge. This was built by a very inventive industrialist, William Armstrong, Lord Armstrong he became. 1848. Up on the left is the high level bridge that carries both road and rail, and then of course we've got the Tyne Bridge up to the right, and beyond is the Gateshead Millennium Footbridge. So yes, this bridge, it's a swivel bridge effectively, more than a swing bridge, and the way it operates is, well, it originally operated on hydraulics driven by the river. These days there's a motor that provides the pressure for the water. Well, that's Armstrong's swing bridge. His speciality, in actual fact, was hydraulics. I'm coming a short distance along here because I want you to see. I want to take a look at the original buildings on the quayside, and we'll have a look at them going the other way. Very, very busy quayside was this. So yes, that's the high level bridge. 1849 that was opened, and then the road level, which is below the rail level, was put in a year later, 1850. First of its type, certainly in Britain. Now these are the older buildings here on the left. There's one in particular I want to point out, if I can possibly get out of the way of the traffic. There's one in particular that it's known as Bessie Surtees' house. Bessie Surtees was, shall we say, a young lady, just here on the left. November 1772. Bessie Surtees was the daughter of a local businessman, and she'd taken up with a fellow called John Scott. John Scott, as far as her father was concerned, was nowhere near good enough for his daughter, and he forbade her from seeing, let alone marry him. But it was November 1772, November the 18th to be precise. She eloped, and she eloped by climbing out the bedroom window just above us, and with the help of John and his colleague and his friend, managed to get down onto the back of John's horse, and they legged it. He was a ne'er-do-well as far as his father was concerned, but just to prove the point, he became the first Earl of Eldon, and eventually Lord Chancellor. So yeah, he was a ne'er-do-well, wasn't he? But that's Bessie Surtees' house. Beautiful old house. Back under the Tyne Bridge, 1928, opened by George V. The big discussion, or perhaps even argument, is which came first, the Tyne Bridge or the Sydney Harbour Bridge, because they're exactly the same design. Sydney Harbour Bridge is much bigger, but the Tyne Bridge was opened 4 years before the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but again, Sydney Harbour Bridge was started 2 years before the Tyne Bridge was started. So, whichever way you read it, you know. And another but is both bridges were designed along the same lines as Hell's Gate Bridge in New York in the USA, which was opened in 1912. So that beat them both to it. That's over on the right there, that's the that's a pedestrian Gateshead Millennium Footbridge. I'll have a quick run along here, try and get a better look at it. Things have changed. When I used to bring the coach, I used to do what I possibly could of a tour of Newcastle city centre. So we can stop along here and I'll tell you a little bit about what's gone on over here. Like I say, there was something of a renaissance, particularly with Gateshead. Gateshead is the far side of the river, of course. So what we've got is the Millennium Footbridge. It was opened in 2001, so it wasn't quite in time for the Millennium. But what people around here will tell you is that when it opened, it stayed open. What they're getting at is the Millennium Footbridge in London was closed after it was first opened, whereas this one stayed open. And the way it operates, if you can imagine it, you can see the theatre, Gateshead Arts Centre behind it. if shipping needs to come through, there isn't as much shipping as there used to be by any means, but if shipping needs to come through, the whole thing rocks away from us. You can see the arch, and you can see the way the footway curves out towards us. The whole thing rocks beyond the other way from where we are, so that the footway becomes an arch as well. And it's they call it the winking bridge around here. Baltic Flour Mills, well, it was indeed the flour mills, but these days it's a very, very successful art gallery. It's the flour mills. Down to the left of us is the way out to the North Sea, down to North Shields and South Shields on either side of the river, and Tynemouth, of course. And it's just totally different to what it was like when I used to come up when my daughter first moved up here. This was very run down. It was the quayside that had been left to rot effectively, because there wasn't anything like as much for shipping coming in. But it's, like I say, massive renaissance for the place, and it's very successful indeed. Anyway, let's carry on. This area was the first area that I covered with the coach. My first regular tour was Newcastle, Northumberland, and I was so proud to be connected professionally with this area, because it just means so much. Lots of modern architecture that sort of gets in the way of the original stuff. The building up there with the clock face, the clock tower, that was a Mariners Hospital up there back in the day. And this was an old infirmary on the right here. It's now a museum. Moseley Street. We turn across here, and we'll pass across the bottom of Grey Street. We're going to try and come down Grey Street in a little while, but across here we've got one or two points of interest. We can't go down Dean Street anymore. It's not open to, well, it shouldn't be open to cars and motorbikes. It's taxis and buses only. So that's Grey Street, a beautiful architecture up Grey Street, as you can see, but we're going to come down there if we possibly can. And just on the left here we've got St Nicholas's Cathedral, the Cathedral Church of St Nicholas. I hope you're getting a good view of this. Just pause here for a moment. Like I say, St Nicholas Cathedral is a beautiful church building. I'm not overly religious, but I do appreciate, as I said before, church architecture. Speaking of architecture, we're looking straight on at the entrance to the high level bridge. This is the road traffic and railway bridge. We can't go across. It's not open to cars and motorbikes, just buses and taxis. The Castle Keep, this is the building that gives Newcastle its name. 1177 this castle was built. Prior to that, the son of William the Conqueror built a wooden structure on the site of a Roman castle, in actual fact. The Roman castle was put there to guard Hadrian's Wall, which used to come across this far, obviously. But like I say, the castle was built, and because it was a new castle, the place became known as Newcastle, and that's where the place got its name from. The stone castle. Sorely tempted to go across the bridge, but it's not allowed, unfortunately, so we'll take a run round. There are actually 7 bridges within the city bounds that cross the Tyne, and we've covered just 4 of them. There's the modern Red Hoof Bridge, which comes across from the A1 effectively. There's the George VII Bridge, which is a railway bridge, which we can't cross, obviously. And we're going to go up past the railway station, because there's a gentleman on the right here. It's very, very important here in Newcastle. The statue up on the right, that's George Stephenson, the father of the railways, and also a very well-known mining engineer. He created a competition, if you like, for the Davy lamp, the safety lamp, and it was the Stephenson lamp became known as a Geordie lamp, and it's understood that that guy brought about the nickname for the locals up here, the Geordies. This is Central Station, very grand looking building, always associated with George Stephenson, as you can imagine. What I tended to find when I was driving the coaches, or coach tours up here in the northeast, was that people just didn't know anything about the northeast. It's one of those situations where people have got, I won't say the wrong idea, but a misapprehension, shall we say, about the northeast being dreadfully depressed. Jarrow March, that sort of thing. I suppose it was at one time depressed, but the architecture in this city is absolutely stunning. I'm sorry to upset football fans, but I'm going to miss out on St James's Park, the home of Newcastle United. Just about to see it in front of us between the buildings, but I've got to work out a way of including what I want to include, and it doesn't take me past there, unfortunately. Geordie Stephenson again. I knew we'd get here eventually. Now we're going to go past St Nicholas's Cathedral again, but up to the left of us, it's an area I don't want to get into because it's a bit complicated and I don't think I can ride through a lot of it. It's the markets. There's the big market, BIGG, the Groat market, the cloth market, various different markets. You can get a slightly better view of the cathedral from this direction. Now we're going to pass, on the left of us, we're going to pass Grey Street, named after Earl Grey, who became Prime Minister, local man, became Prime Minister, and he was a political reformer, and he brought about changes in British politics that gave a lot more people entitlement to vote. But that was, oh, and he also created a very nice cup of tea, Earl Grey. It's the same fella. Now I hope this next bit works out, because we're going to go up Pilgrim Street here. And then hopefully take a run across Market Street and come down Dean Street. Shakespeare Street is well named I should say, because it runs alongside the Theatre Royal, where I'm sure a lot of his works have been put on. So this is Market Street. I mean, you can see the architecture, can't you? You can just see the architecture. It's stunning, really. It really is quite stunning. So we're going to be able to take a buses HCV. No, we can't go down Grey Street. Oh, roadworks. I'm going to stop in the junction. It's a bit naughty, admittedly, but so this is Grey Street, and behind us and to the left is the Theatre Royal. You can see the stone columns, hopefully. And you can see the curve in architecture of Grey Street itself down to the left. Then up above us to the right is Grey's monument. Earl Grey himself stood on top of his stone pillar. That's something I did want to show you. And that's about as much as I dare try and show you at Newcastle. Not quite as much as I was hoping, but in a way more than I expected. So, right, so that's Newcastle on Tyne. Hope you found it interesting. I'll see you in a bit. Well, we come out to Newcastle on what is known as a coast road, which is exactly what it is. So now we have the North Sea in front of us. We're coming down to the coast just to the north of Tynemouth, and this on the left here was the Park Hotel, which was my last regular hotel here in the northeast. Looks like it's undergoing some very welcome refurbishments. That's the Amsterdam ferry coming in out to the right, and in front of us we got it's a lovely coast, right? I mean, from this point onwards right the way up through Northumberland, it's an absolutely beautiful coast. We've still got scars here. A lot of places on the east coast have got what are called scars, these long flat areas of rock that extend out into the sea. Diabolical for shipping. There's all sorts of vessels gone down on these scars, and but the scars have given a particular name to Britain's first ever holiday resort, Scarborough, the town on the scars. Anyway, completely and utterly useless information. That's nothing to do with what we're doing up here. We're coming into Cullercoats now. Down the harbour on the right here is Cullercoats, and I suppose you could call it notorious. One of these houses across here on the left is the house of who became known as the Canoe Man. So John Darwin, I think his name was, wasn't it? Staged his own disappearance and supposedly demise, then moved across to the Caribbean, or if you're across there it's the Caribbean, of course. This was where he lived. They're lovely little areas, these are. Can you see the lighthouse in the distance? That's St Mary's Isle. We're going to have a look at that in the morning before we head off up into Northumberland proper. Into Whitley Bay. Whitley Beer, man. And just round the corner, hopefully, is our home for 3 nights, the Dunes Hotel. There's a feature here at Whitley Bay that I want to cover particularly, but that'll be tomorrow on the way out. We are. We've arrived at the Dunes Hotel. See you later. So here we are in true Itchy Boot style. This is our home for the next 3 nights. Nice little room, but comfortable. It'll do us. Me, you, the camera. Okay. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.